Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Push Square here, I suppose. And today we've got John Cal McCormack's PS5 review of Code Violet. Aaron's feeling a little bit under the weather today, so you got me to deal with instead. Let's see if this one's worth checking out. Code Violet begins and ends with quotes by the renowned painter and inventor Leonardo da Vinci. And that feels appropriate, not because the game will be remembered for time immemorial like the Mona Lisa, but because, much like one of da Vinci's early flying machine sketches, the game is ambitious but never really gets off the ground. Set long in the future in a facility in the far reaches of space, Code Violet's titular heroine is rudely awoken when her friend is unceremoniously eaten by a velociraptor. I think I just hate it when that happens. Unfortunately, Violet has the rotten luck of waking from her slumber in naught but her underwear, and wouldn't you know it, her clothes are at the other end of the facility, not the end she's on. I hate when that happens as well. This naturally raises questions. It means she must have taken her clothes off the night before at one end of the facility, then walk all through the corridors in her smalls, being no doubt gawped at by the janitors, gone to sleep, and then in the morning would repeat her semi-nude pilgrimage back to grab her trousers before going for her typical bowl of Frosties. That doesn't really make much sense, but we don't have time to ponder such things. Velociraptors are famously impatient creatures, and before they finish their hors d'oeuvre and come back for the main course, Violet must escape, trousers or no. So she crouches down, sneaks out of the room to look for trousers and weapons, and maybe even an explanation as to who thought it would be a good idea to put dinosaurs in space and her on the menu in the first place. And she does it all while the camera gets up close and personal with her rump. Oh dear. The space dinosaur narrative is deeply silly, but the voice acting and storytelling are presented with deadly seriousness. It's like if you put Christian Bale into the 1960s Batman TV show and told him to just do the voice. Tonally, it's weird, but that honestly makes it pretty funny in parts. The laughter stops once you start playing the game, though. Literally the first thing that happened to us once we had control of Violet was a glitch that got us killed. Once you get your hands on some weapons, things don't get much better either. The third-person shooting is limp, with guns feeling weightless. Call us old-fashioned, but we feel that shotguns should boom. But firing one in Code Violet feels like when you bite the end of the paper off a McDonald's straw and blow through it so the wrapping flies off. Less of a boom and more of a wildly unsatisfying thwip. Hitboxes seem erratic and visual feedback is largely non-existent. It's often unclear if you're actually hitting your target or not until the dinosaur you're shooting unconvincingly keels over. Similarly, when Violet is attacked, she doesn't respond in the way that really says, "Hey, a dinosaur is eating me!" She just kind of stands there while a dinosaur bashes into her with its mouth open. Helpfully, Violet has a little armband on that displays her current health, and so even if she's no-selling the attacks from her dino foes, when the numbers start dropping, you at least know that you're dying. Or at least have a strong suspicion. None of this is helped by the camera, which we're pretty sure in some jurisdictions would be considered a hate crime. Violet met her demise on more than one occasion while we stared at an extreme close-up of her back, because the camera is utterly unprepared to deal with confined spaces, which is problematic in a game which mostly takes place in narrow corridors. There's not much in the way of guidance either. There's no quest log or anything like that. I mean, characters tell you to go places and then you go there? Sometimes doors are locked and you need to find a keycard, which means wandering from room to room, scouring the floors until you find one. Occasionally there'll be a basic puzzle to solve, such as shining a blacklight on something to find a code, or copying button prompts in order to open a door. Not exactly revolutionary. Enemy variety is similarly unremarkable. Velociraptors are the dino you'll go up against most, but there's a couple of bigger ones as well to keep things vaguely fresh. There are also some of those little tiddler dinosaurs that chomped Peter Stormare in the Lost World Jurassic Park, known to some as compies, which I have to thank Jura Grage Wars for teaching me. There's also some of those frilly, spitty dinosaur guys like the one that chomped Newman from Seinfeld in the original Jurassic Park. I suppose spoilers for a couple of very, very old films there. Real Jurassic Park fans will undoubtedly know that the Dilophosaurus, the one with the frills that spits blinding venom, didn't actually have either of those traits in real life and were both fabricated for the film and the book. That means that either Code Violet is a stealth Jurassic Park sequel, or the devs base their research into dinosaurs exclusively on Steven Spielberg's 1993 blockbuster. Or we're putting far too much thought into this. Another thing people seem destined to spend too much time thinking about is the vast number of saucy costumes you can dress Violet up in for absolutely no reason. You can dress her up like a 1950s pinup in a low-cut shirt, a sexy secretary in a low-cut shirt, and other such costumes, usually involving some sort of low-cut shirt. Sometimes there are even bum cheeks on display. That's the caliber we're dealing with here. Not one of these would be considered practical attire for battling a horde of hungry dinosaurs, and they only add to the aforementioned tonal confusion Code Violet suffers from, since Violet as a character isn't remotely fun. She's dour and sour-faced, and so most of the time ends up looking like someone who just found out their hamster has died while they're at Comic-Con. In all actuality, it is actually quite funny. Maybe you could headcanon that Violet is running a cosplay-themed OnlyFans in space, and it'll make a little more sense. Whatever. The horny outfits are there if you want them, and they can be ignored if you don't. With all that being said though, Code Violet does actually look pretty good in parts. Animations are weird, but some of the sights once you get outside are really rather lovely, and Violet has cool looking hair. It's just a shame that you spend 90% of your time in the game in samey corridors with barely any lighting. Another thing Code Violet has got going for it is its brevity. It's roughly about 6 hours long, and we actually got pretty lost at the beginning, so it might actually be even shorter for non-morons. At 10 or 12 hours, this would easily be a slog. At 6, well, it's still a bit of a slog, but less so. Code Violet is a mess. Crummy combat, tedious exploration, technical problems, the list goes on. The sexy costumes and horny camera work seem at odds with both Violet as a character and the tone of the writing. Even at 6 hours long, it's tough to recommend, because in 6 hours you could just watch Jurassic Park 3 times. And if you did that, you'd never once feel the need to justify what's currently on your screen.
That is one big pile of shit.
We're giving Code Violet a 4 out of 10. Thanks so much for checking out John's review. Let me know down in the comments if you plan to check out Code Violet despite our harrowing score, and while you're down there, why not leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation video goodness just like this. Anyway, that's all from me, so until next time, I've been Alex, and this has been Push Square.